Welcome back, everyone. My name is Corey, as you know, and this is 1YL or 1 year later. We are so excited to be here today. And as you guys know, this is a podcast show amplifying the voices of people taking adversity into their own hands and changing their world and the world around them. Today, we have a very special guest. I have my dear friend, Hallie Mossett. Hallie, how are you, my friend?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm doing great. I'm doing great. I cannot wait for everyone to get to know you a little bit more because you're one of my favorite humans and you're just so special and live a life of just you adventure with your life with like class and elegance and just beauty, and I'm like excited to tell and share with everyone like how rad you are.
Thank you. I
Oh,
appreciate that. I feel the same about you.
Oh, well then let's get to it. Okay, guys, you guys know the drill. This is not a show about accolades, but I'm going to give you a couple about my friend Hallie. So, first of all, yes, she is my friend. Where we became friends was at the good old UCLA gymnastics. And at UCLA, Hallie was coming off of being a member of the U.S. national team. Then she was a member of the UCLA gymnastics team. She performed a viral floor routine. She scored a 9975 on floor. She's pretty much a really cool person. I was gonna say the word BA, but I refrained. Um, and then after her career as a gymnast, where she fought her own adversity throughout her career, she then was the choreographer for the UCLA gymnastics team for the 2018 national championship winning gymnastics team. And some of those floor routines went viral that she choreographed herself, and then continue to do incredible dance and choreography, and her movement and performance is just exquisite and elegant and incredible. And as we fast forward, I'm missing a lot, but like where she's at now, she is an assistant coach at LIU Gymnastics, Long Island University. She's living in Brooklyn. And she's bringing that choreography skill, but also her incredible gymnastics knowledge from a history of high performing gymnastics over to LIU, which is a brand new program this year. And I'm just so proud to be her friend. So,
Oh my God.
Hallie,
Thank you.
you're
Wow.
welcome.
All of that. I'm so
Uh,
glad to be here.
okay, cool. Okay, let's get to it. Here we go.
Okay.
Hallie, where were you 365 days ago, April 14th, 2020? Where
Okay.
were you physically and mentally and emotionally? Like, where were we at?
Okay. So April 14th. So tracking back a little bit in 2019, I was so busy. I was doing a lot of choreography, a lot of dancing. I got back into class. I was doing a lot of acting, and I did some stunt work here and there. And then in 2020, I had been doing choreography still, but it was gymnastics season, so it slowed down. So I was really focused on my acting. I had started doing classes. I had done one commercial for Snapchat, actually, and um, my birthday is March 15th, so I did that commercial maybe January or February. March 15th is my birthday. March 16th, California shut down. And so I was in LA. I was on lockdown. Um, Physically, I was doing okay. Um, I guess I was taking a bit of a mental and physical break with my body because I've been through a lot of injuries, especially, trying to rest from doing stunts and whatnot the year before. But also, there was just so much going on in the world at that time, with, social injustices, and coronavirus was at its peak. And, emotionally, I think I was um, a little bit all over the place, but just thankful to be alive and to be well and to be able to spend that time in lockdown with my family.
Yeah.
I was so excited to be home, but definitely worried. We were all,
Yeah.
hoarding toilet paper and paper towels. And I was the one who was going to the grocery store because my brother's in law school out of state. So I would go home and stay with my parents and go to the grocery store for them. And I had my gloves and my mask, all that.
Hmm.
And so it was crazy. I was
It
definitely in
was.
a different space. Still, protecting myself against COVID-19, but
Hmm.
um, yeah, I was physically in California and
Good.
mentally everywhere.
That is a great way to put it. Physically in California, mentally everywhere.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's get a little bit more specific. So what kind of challenges did last year present for you that were like real situations that, you know, could potentially be something that could be relatable for a listener? That was something that you faced personally, whether it was a career change, like an injury, maybe just like an emotional bout that you were facing. Like, what are some challenges that come to mind in terms of things that the last 365 days presented?
hmm So many things. So as I mentioned before, I think I was really affected by, as a lot of people were, the social injustices that were happening. George Floyd's death, the protests all over California and all over the country. That was a really, really hard time, and it was really hard to. And we're still living in that time today, to be honest with you.
Hmm.
As police brutality is still happening and systemic racism is still happening around our country. But I think, that was so emotional for so many people in the world and around our country, along with um, coronavirus. So
Hmm.
I was worried. I was
Hmm.
worried for my family. I was worried for my friends, more so than I was worried for myself. But it was just hard to watch. I remember just standing in front of the TV sometimes and just shedding tears because it was so scary.
Hmm.
Um, but then again, I told you before, I was so thankful to just be with my family and
Yeah.
to be safe.
Yeah.
But did everything that I could and did my part to, fight against that, against the
Yeah.
social injustices that were going on.
Hmm.
Other than that, I did have a career change. As you know, I moved all the way across the country. So um, I can't remember exactly when, but I know it was during the pandemic. I can't tell you a specific date. It was definitely around this time last year. I
Hmm.
was contacted. Um, you know, I started talking about, possibly taking a coaching job and moving to New York. And, initially, like, I wasn't super into moving across the country because, I'm an LA girl. I love LA. Like, I'll rep it to the day I die, even if I live in Brooklyn for years. Um, but it was such a great opportunity. And once I found out that the head coach was going to be Randy Lane, I had the best time working with him at UCLA. And I also worked with him when I was undergrad assistant. And I worked for his after school program when I was an actor,
Hmm.
a little bit after. And he's just such a joy to work with and such a great person. And I was like, you know
Hmm.
what? This sounds like a really good opportunity. Um, and I think I'm gonna do it, but I am scared.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
was very afraid to take this big leap, especially during a pandemic. So it's definitely it was an interesting time. I was contemplating a lot of different things and weighing
Yeah.
out a lot of options. Um,
Totally.
yeah. So
Yeah. When did you actually make the move to New York? I'm trying to get a vibe. It's like September, right?
I actually moved in October. So I
Okay.
came a little bit later because
Yeah.
of COVID. I kept having to push my travels back.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So, okay. So, yeah, I mean, you speak about the racial injustice that was existing. Like, I feel like there was a lot happening prior to June, but there was a really like a much greater focus on it in the month of June with the death of George Floyd. And, I think I remember significantly, I think it was March, was when the death of Ahmaud Arbery happened. And I remember that day when I saw that news come forward, like remembering his story about how he was out on a run. And I remember that day I went out for a run. For some reason, the March 23rd is the date that's coming to mind, but I don't know if that's exactly it. But I remember I went for a run for 3 miles and I think 3.23 miles like in honor of Ahmaud Arbery. And
Yeah.
and there was things that even for myself who like living as a no like not hiding anything, like a middle class white male straight, like all of these things that would be elevated to say privilege, like I have always been one to make sure that I was having the hard conversations and making sure that there was compassion that was oozing from me into the lives of everyone around the world, no matter what they look like, what they act like, what their sexuality is. And that has been always my passion. And so I remember going for that run just as like as a purpose and
Yeah.
as a compassionate expression.
Yeah.
And then when June came around and like we saw the images and the videos of what we saw, I just remember my heart breaking in ways that I had never experienced before, which then sparked us so many more conversations with friends like you and other people in my life who are members of the Black community, and that I really wanted to just make sure that I extended my olive branch to say, like, if I have ever been a piece of a microaggression that has been said to you, or that I have done anything to cause you any sort of uncomfortability, like I wanted to make sure that I knew what those were and that there was a forgiveness moment in that. So I'm saying this not to pat myself on the back, but to ask you the question, like, what was that like in that season to have a lot of people more than likely reaching out to you to have similar conversations in a season where I'm sure there was this like tug of war of like, why haven't we had this conversation earlier? Because you've been feeling it for many years. It was nothing incredibly new to you. But at the same time, it was kind of that feeling also of like, okay, but we're having it. And that's what's important. And that's what's important about this time. So can you speak a little bit about what that was like in your life?
Yeah, it was hard, to be honest with you. It was really emotional because, not only are we dealing with, protests and racial injustice and things that were going on and the head of our country and things like that. But as a member of the Black community, it was like going on in my own household where I was so worried for my family. I have a dad and I have a brother that I was worried about every single day. But it's not anything new.
Mm-hmm.
It's now being shown to, a greater platform, but I feel like we have been experiencing these things for years. So it was great to have those conversations with friends. But to be honest with you, sometimes it was a little bit exhausting because it was such an emotional time. And I don't know if you remember, but I posted an Instagram video of a poem that I had written about, racial injustice and the things that I was experiencing in my everyday life. And I wrote that poem in 2017.
Mm-hmm.
So that should go to show that, that kind of stuff has been happening to our community and other communities as well, but the Black community for years. So it was great to have those hard conversations, yes, but it was definitely a bit emotionally exhausting. And we just had another victim of police brutality less than a week ago.
Yeah.
So we need to say their names, and
Mm-hmm.
I think that the conversations are not over. Not
Mm-hmm.
over at all. So I really appreciate you like always being such an ally and
Mm-hmm.
reaching out to me and, making sure that you've been able to spread the word. But I think, if you guys want to check out the Instagram post, it's from probably June of 2020.
Yeah.
And I can't even remember what it's called. It's like,
It's okay. I'll link it. I'll definitely link it for everyone to watch it.
yeah.
It was powerful, Hal, and I think, it was such a season where it was so important to hear those emotions and to hear those words. And like, I think for many years we have been saying that like words are powerful because they can hurt you or they can help you.
Mhm.
And those words were showing what has hurt you in order to help us. And
Mhm.
it was so vulnerable of you to do that, but like
Yeah,
thank you for sharing that and for being open to
of course.
truly just raising your voice in that time frame.
Yeah.
When I started Make It Loud, like the idea was to amplify the voices of people like you who have experienced something that you know is important for people to understand. It's not something for us to just bottle up and say, hey, yeah, we're experiencing this, but like I want to tell those stories. I want to make sure that those stories are heard and those stories are understood, because I don't walk around every day as an activist for racial injustice, but I am an activist at heart for racial injustice.
Mhm.
It's not, I don't believe that it is everyone's career path to be a lobbyist in government to make sure that no systemic racism is happening, but it is a part of our hearts that we should be a lobbyist on our own every day of our lives to be ending systemic racism. So
Yeah.
that's my little tangent on that, but I mean, I want you to know that like I hear you, and I see you, and I am so honored to know you, and I'm excited to continue to run this race with you, because there's so much that still needs to be done.
Yeah.
But in the meantime, like I feel very strongly that while you're not a career lobbyist, you are continuing to shine the light and to continue to raise your voice and speak their names in your space. And your space happens to be currently in the gymnastics gym with a group of uh, 15 athletes that are looking up to you
Mhm.
as an incredible gymnast, but also as an incredible woman,
Thank
to just be able to be inspired by. So
Thank you. I appreciate it. It's important for everybody to be an activist in their own capacity and own heart, and continue to say their names: Dante Wright,
mhm,
Breonna
abs-
Taylor, George Floyd,
absolutely,
Maud Arbery, and so many more.
so
So
many more. Oh, amazing. Okay, that was a definite challenge in your life in the last 365 days. So let's move next to the move across the country, man, and hopping back into gymnastics.
yeah,
You like you had mentioned, you had been choreographing for more in the optionals. That's not a big word that most people would know, but like
yeah.
the higher levels of gymnastics in the club gymnastics scene, and
Mhm.
so that's how you kind of held your ground in terms of staying in the gymnastics world and having an effect on it. But what was it like to kind of have to now step into a role kind of emulating your college experience, and now inspiring and encouraging and coaching up another group of student athletes to then have the best season that they possibly could have with so much adversity that was presented to them
Yeah.
this past year. So can you speak a little bit about what that experience was like?
Yeah, it was so interesting to be back in the gym because, I've been in the gymnastics community, but only from a dance perspective. I've
Sure.
really been focused on like acting and dancing and doing that kind of route. But I hadn't really been in a gym like as consistently. So I would work and then not be in the gym for a while. So before I actually went to LIU in the summer, I did University of Denver's floor routines. And it had been a while
Hmm.
since I had done college floor routines because I did them at UCLA, and then my last year there was 2018. So I
Hmm.
hadn't worked with collegiate athletes for a while. And then when I did Denver, I was like, okay, yeah, like I love working with um, these athletes are great and they're older and they can communicate with me, like,
Yeah.
what they like and what they don't like. Um, and then when I went to LIU, I was of course so excited to be working with Randy, but it had definitely been a minute since I had been in the gym. I'll
Yeah.
say that. But all of the girls were so great and so welcoming and really sweet. But it was definitely a challenge because of coronavirus. We had
Hmm.
some times where the school had to actually shut down because of COVID. So there were a couple times where the girls had to go home and then come back because school was shutting down. So we didn't really get a lot of training time for the season. But it was so much fun to work with them and to grow closer with them. And I coach predominantly. I coach floor and I do the floor routine. So that was my way of being able to bond with them and kind of figuring out their little quirks and personalities. And it was really nice to be back in the gym. And I watching them now, I just have those memories. You watched us train and you were on the team, and you kind of forget those little things that you used to do and those little things that you used to get into when you leave. So when I see them, kind of doing the same things that, me and my teammates and my friends used to do, I'm like, oh, I really understand what you're going through. I can help you. I can help you a little bit smarter and a little bit better. So I think it's been a journey of growth, but I'm loving it. And I love coaching them. And, it was a bit of a rough get to our season. It was a rough journey to get to our season, but we finished really well. And I'm so excited for next year because we'll actually have more time to train and to bond as a team. And I think the world should be really excited to see what LIU is going to do next year because they are a really great group of young women. And it's hard to be a part of a new program. So I really applaud them for, being able to just go with the flow with us as we figure it all out too. Yeah.
Man, and for the non-gymnastics fan who is listening, what I have to, in very short words, explain is when you have an inaugural program, the first year, the amount of pieces of the puzzle that Randy and Hallie had to put together in terms of they don't have any student athletes. When the program starts, they don't have any student athletes. So they have to recruit them all after most people have already been recruited. You then have to create a program where there's not already a building on campus that just has all of the gymnastics equipment on it. So you have to figure out a game plan for that. You then have to figure out what a competition setting looks like. Are you going to be a part of a conference? There are so many question marks that exist that they had to figure out, and they did. I think a cherry on top for me, and my next question is what are two cool turning points from your last year that really brought you hope to get to where you're at right now? And one of the ones that I'm gonna shout out for you is it was just so cool to be able to see you guys walk into a conference championship. Right? You got through the season, you got to the conference championship, you are a part of the Eagle Conference, right? Eagle Conference, yeah. And being able to walk into that arena with your teammates, with your coaches, you did it. To me, there was some sort of cool ribbon that was tied on the top of this package that you guys were putting together all year. But what for you were two turning points in this last year that just brought you hope to get to where you're at now?
Well, first of all, shout out to Randy for starting this program and putting it together and recruiting 20 girls and figuring out a place for us to train and so many things that he did before I was even there. So shout out to him. There have been a couple different turning points. Honestly, when I made the decision to move to New York, I felt like that was a turning point for me personally because, as I said before, California forever.
Yes.
I moved to the East Coast, and we all know how I am with the cold. Not my thing.
She's not good with the cold.
No. So the Ivy Park jacket wasn't even enough. Had to get another jacket. Yeah. I've got 4 now. So
I was gonna say you better have more than just one Ivy Park jacket at this point.
I think I have 3 or 4 Ivy Parks now.
Good.
I have 4.
Good.
Yeah.
Good.
But being able to move and to start this journey for myself, it was such a turning point for me that I realized, you know what, I'm going to give this my all no matter what happens. So mentally, I decided to give it 100% because if I'm going to move all the way across the country to take this job and to, I plan on applying to grad school here as well, I'm going to put my 100% effort into this. So that was the first turning point. The season, we had our ups and downs. Yes, we did. I unfortunately was sick at some point during the season as well, so I was out for a bit. But then we all got back together and we rallied for that last competition, stepping into that arena. When we were at our conference championship, and our last event was floor, and the girls were. I think I said that we were going to have like the biggest floor party ever, and I want them to perform like they know that they can. And we actually scored our first 49 on that event, and that
Amazing.
of our season. So that was definitely a turning point, and I think that they started to realize how great they are as well. So that is, a great way for us to leave season of 2021 and move into next season.
So huge. You guys crushed it. I'm so proud because like I also got to work with Randy Lane and he's incredible, excitable. He's a great leader. He's just in a like when I heard that he was going to be the head coach of this new inaugural program, like the right fit for him. It's so cool to be able to, bring new athletes onto campus and have his energy and his guidance there with them. Super cool. And very smart decision to bring you on as well, which is just like it's such a cool little team that's happening over there, and I'm just like so stoked to hear about all of that.
Thank you. Gotta
Heck
come
yeah.
visit. Come visit Brooklyn.
I would love to.
Please come.
Okay, and I'm gonna give you one last turning point because I am, wow, incredibly over the moon proud of you for this. Before we get to our last question, but the last turning point, you made a list this year that I don't know, like, okay, you're way too humble to ever promote yourself in this way, but my, oh my, let me tell you, everyone, the routine that Hallie did in college that went viral was a bunch of Beyonce music strung together. And if I know one person in my life who truly has just really looked up to an individual in the way that she leads her life, it would be Hallie's way that she looks at Beyonce. Like I just like when she says she has 4 Ivy Park jackets, like for those of you who are living under a rock, Ivy Park is Beyonce's brand, right? So here's a turning point for me. You guys, Hallie made the list of the top 20 entertainers during Women's History Month on Beyonce's website for her foundation, Baygood. Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
20 entertainers chosen by her foundation, and Hallie in front of us, the woman she looked up to, selected her as one of the top entertainers. And what was really cool about it too was a piece of it was specifically about how these entertainers were able to shift during the pandemic to do things like Zoom dance classes and to still be able to perfect their craft of dance and choreography as you did. And I was over the moon when I saw you post about this. But like, how did that feel to like be included on that list?
I'm like still speechless about it, to be completely honest with you. I don't remember where I was that morning. I was doing something, so I did not see it right away. And I actually had a friend reach out to me on Twitter and was like, "Oh, like Beyonce mentioned you," and I didn't think it was the real. I think I tweeted back, "Is this real? LOL," because I thought it was like a fake post. And then I looked, and I was on like a couple different, web pages on Twitter of the same post.
Your headshot.
My headshot from UCLA, and I was like, okay, huh? And I think I called my mom and I was like crying and I was like, I think Beyonce might have mentioned me, but I still don't know if this is real. So I finally went to Instagram and clicked the Be Good and then the website, and I saw my name there and I was crying because obviously I love Beyonce. I feel so honored to be on that list. But also a lot of the women on the list like are so inspirational and have moved mountains in their career. I think I had one or two of them like, post and reach out to me, and I was just like, oh my gosh, what an amazing opportunity. And it feels really nice to be recognized for a lot of the work that I've done throughout the years. To be honest, it definitely felt good. But I definitely keep my head down and work hard and try to be as humble as I can. But that was such an amazing honor, and
Hmm.
still can't believe I was on there. I was like, oh my
I know.
gosh, I did not expect it. That definitely made my year.
Wow. Well, how I'm believing big things. Just, I feel like moments like that create momentum for people, and I'm hoping and like continuing to pray that that continues to bring momentum for you in your life. And I definitely think it will. Okay, our final question, Hallie. We're gonna end with a bang. I want to know: did your 1 year ago self believe that you could be here 1 year later?
No, I had no idea. I could, if you asked me what I would be doing, obviously our 20s, like it's such a interesting time in our lives where we're all trying to figure it out. I mean, I guess a lot of people in their 20s are in different areas. But
Hmm.
I was in an area of my 20s where I was just like, I'm just going to
Yeah.
go with the flow. And I have my business that I have with choreography, and I want to do acting. I want to do this. I want to do that. And I was doing it, not at the
Hmm.
capacity that I wanted to, but I was just going with the flow. I could
Yeah.
have never told you that I would be in New York coaching and, getting opportunities out here and being on the Beyonce list and being able to choreograph for schools and coach LIU and mostly living in New York. I still can't believe I live here.
Right.
To be honest with you, like I still don't like. Whoa! But I feel so incredibly blessed to be in this position, and I couldn't do it without my family, my friends, and God. And I
Hmm.
feel so blessed to be here, even though I would have never thought that I would be here before. So I think, for anybody who is watching this, anything can happen in a year. So you need to always, be open to different opportunities that are coming your way and to trust and believe in yourself, because that's one thing that I will always believe in myself and the people around me, um, even when I'm unsure. So,
Hmm.
you know, I think adversity and trouble do come, but they do not last always. And
Hmm.
if you keep the faith and you keep pushing and you keep working hard, you can be anywhere you want to be, anywhere.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I mean, I'm proud of you.
Thank
Quite
you.
honestly, your story is one that I'm so excited to watch unfold in the future. And I keep like thinking about this, but I like just need to make it real. Like, I definitely want to hop on 1 year later, 1 year from now, and just hear about what this next 365 days unfolds for you. Because I just believe great things about what's to come, and I'm just hoping nothing but the best for you. So, Hallie, thanks for opening up today and sharing with everyone. I know someone for sure will feel encouraged by your story, and hopefully it also has inspired more people to continue to say the names of those who have passed and have been passed because of the effects of systemic racism and racial injustices. And I want you to know that I am definitely an ally of yours, and I will definitely be by your side in having these hard conversations when they are needing to happen, and be an advocate for you. So,
Thank you.
of course.
I appreciate you, Corey. You're the
Of
best.
course. All right, guys. Well, that is it for our episode today of 1YL. Hallie, thanks for being here. And as always, tune in tomorrow for another episode of 1 Year Later. We'll see you then.